Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken Sunday Live Q&A. My name is Garhen, and it is good to see everyone today. Hello, Jennifer. How are you this afternoon? So I am interested in some feedback on this morning's meditation. I had promised only 20 minutes, and I have to confess, when I meditate, sometimes hours can disappear. It's really not an issue. So I do apologize if I put anyone out this morning, but to me that's kind of just the way it goes. If you're having a good time and enjoying yourself and you're in a blissful place, why would you want to, have to end that prematurely or sooner than you would like? And that's wonderful. We are glad that you are great today. That's good. And there was a question, and I believe it was you, Jennifer, that had asked it, and that was, is there a difference between visualization and imagination? And fundamentally, no, there isn't. I mean, when you image, right, imagine, your imaginate, you're imaging in your mind. And when you're visualizing, you're doing the same thing. The visualization serves as a focal point. It serves as a, hello, Cindy. Nice to see you too. A very formal hello. Well, hello right back to you. When we visualize, it gives our mind a focal point. It helps to bring our attention into that one-pointedness. I've found, especially with people who do not meditate every day or meditate as a regular practice, that the addition of imagery can truly help. And I'm not saying we're going to use imagery all the time. I do want some feedback, either today or in the form of comments, and I haven't gotten around to restructuring the announcements. That'll be happening over the next few days. But as to what our group members would like to see as far as meditations, I've experienced most different varieties, so I'm quite comfortable, and we're going to talk about a few interesting options today, as well as the idea of having simply a chanting session as well, where there will be no additional discourse. We'll simply come on the video and begin with the chanting and spend the time chanting together. Some people are more visual, definitely. Ultimately, no one is more visual than another. It's all to the degree to which you've engaged it or do engage it. And for some people who engage it on a regular basis or have grown up very visually oriented, yes, their visual cues can be totally immersive. And this develops with time, even if you're not at that point. And trust me, it's not uncommon to lose the voice of the meditator, yet still respond to the mantra. And the reason being is I am communicating with you when I am in those states of meditation on a whole bunch of different levels. I am using the same principles that we see in quantum physics at a conscious spiritual level to close the gap between what you would consider you and I. And the communication that occurs, the words are the surface. They're like the peel of the orange. So don't worry when you lose the words. The reason the mantra still rings is because the mantra represents a resonance that your very being responds to. Your mind doesn't have to. Your being itself responds to that. You see, over thousands upon thousands of years, the repeated recitation of mantras and other words that we would say have power, okay, that power comes from the consistent intent behind that recitation. And it doesn't really matter how you say the word. There is no correct way. It's what resonates with you. It's what causes that vibration to echo through your being. It's that which causes you to recognize it even when you no longer are hearing the words. Chanting is another wonderful way, and you know, there's various options there as well. So I think for the next while we're going to explore, and I'm going to offer a variety of meditative forms that we can do together. The purpose, of course, is always to help you raise your consciousness. You know, yeah, Cindy, I totally hear you. My favorite visualization place is indeed next to the ocean. It really is. I'm on a small outcropping on a little cliff, just, you know, maybe 20 feet above the water, and there's a little path, and I digress, but yeah, I totally get you. Totally. Beach. Although I do, you know, use other experiences as well. What these things do, and we must be careful not to get caught up in it, okay? Because as I've said before, we have to be careful that the place we're creating is not becoming something that we see as some sort of escape. What we're really doing is we're really trying to set up a particular feeling within ourselves that allows us to easily and openly take part in a very real ritualistic gathering. Even though we may not be in each other's physical presence, believe me, with our intent, all intending together to share the same space, to share the same higher ideal, and reach for that together, we are indeed traveling together on this path. We do link up in that way. And that's the gift. We can transcend that time and space very easily. We really do. And we lend each other our strength. You know, I found this morning's meditation incredibly peaceful. I really had to pull myself out of it to end it. It could have just kept going. So there are a few things we're going to talk about today, and we're going to start off with, you know, the whole thing about honesty and growth. And I am straight up with this, and straight up about everything else. Kelly will tell you that you know, I never hide anything, ever. And I have found that there are some members of our group who are using the group page to post, unfortunately, what I would consider fluff. And it doesn't matter what sort of comment you make before you post the fluff, it is still fluff. The purpose of the group is to consciously awaken. It is to assist others to grow in awakening consciousness, not provide distraction in the journey. And the journey is very much within. I want to reiterate that what we really want to see are the posts where people share what they have created, what you are currently doing. You know, any of us can sit down at a computer and hit the share button when we run across something that looks cute or sounds good. I want to hear your quotes. I want to see your expressions of your being, not a carbon copy of what someone else has already done. Now, that doesn't mean when you run into a good quote, don't send it on. Please do. But be careful that we're not spamming, and be careful that what we're contributing to the group is in that vein of awakening consciousness. Okay? The other thing, of course, is with Facebook groups, they are indeed a more private place, and the Facebook algorithm is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and beginning to mute members and snooze people for a week to 2 weeks to a month at a time, depending on the degree that they feel the content that is being contributed according to the group rules is not matching up algorithmically. And that has to be watched for as well. Okay, the group is very specific in its focus, and that is being looked at by Facebook as well. So please keep that in mind. Walking our path, we always have the opportunity to walk with others. We really do. And we're going to talk about a little formula for purposeful living. And of course, my purpose is to fully awaken not only myself, but every member of the human species, and to help and assist every single one of you in whatever way, in any way we can to make that happen. A formula for purposeful living. And this comes right out of Buddhism, actually, but it applies across the board. And it is known as taking refuge in the three jewels. Okay? And first we have to look at what taking refuge means. Now, according to the Buddha, and he's very correct in this, that life is suffering. But the source of that suffering is like a root that can be cut. That source of suffering is a false understanding of the nature of your being and the nature of reality. And to cut that root will end the suffering once and for all. Now, that is where we get the idea of taking refuge, right? We're coming in out of the storm. We're ducking under the edge of the bridge to avoid the torrential water that's coming down. Or perhaps crawling into a cave to avoid the wind. Whatever the case may be, we're taking refuge from life? No. We're taking refuge from our false concepts about life. And just as this morning, when we all surrounded that stone table on that plateau, and we offered for sacrifice all the things that we are misunderstanding about our being, all the things that we are judging as bad, all the things that we are judging as painful or harmful, all those things that we're laying on that table to be burned up and be replaced with the true knowing that in that surrendering, in that sacrificing, all is provided and all is given. In that same way, taking refuge is really reminding us to let go of those false concepts of our being. And that's what we're truly taking refuge from. Not from life, not from life's circumstances, but from our false misinterpretations of life and our misunderstandings of the truth of our being. We take refuge in the Buddha. Okay, and you know, it doesn't really matter whether you say Buddha, whether you say Christ, whether you say any enlightened being that you choose. What you're really doing is saying, I give that falseness away in the light of what this enlightened being has shown me is possible for all of humanity, myself included. I will take heed of those words. I will apply those words to myself. When I feel that I cannot be or I do not know how to be in a given situation, for example, I look to Christ. And I take refuge from the way I may choose to act in a highly egoic state, and instead ask myself, how would Christ have dealt with this in this moment? I want to tear the person's head off, but Christ would be more compassionate. How do I do this? That's only one of the many ways that we can take refuge in the Buddha, or take refuge in the enlightened one that we respect and venerate and come to for teaching. Now, something that I've done many times in the past, and I still do from time to time, is before I begin meditating, I will choose what I consider a divine being to come and meditate at the feet of. Sometimes it'll be Christ, although he and I tend to sit in a pub and chit-chat. He's not very much for this whole holier than thou sort of routine. The Buddha still enjoys it. He really enjoys being able to lay his hand on your head as you're meditating. You can choose any divinity you wish, even just an angel that you would like to be there while you're meditating, to help you find that place of center, that place of calm. And you don't even have to be meditating. You can call upon this. You can take refuge in this any moment when you feel the winds of your life blowing that flame, that still flame, causing it to flicker uncertainly within you. When you found you've lost your center, you can call upon one of those enlightened beings, understanding that what you're calling upon is to be handed that wisdom. And before you've even made the request, the wisdom is within you, waiting for you to uncover, to see that it is right there with you. We can also take refuge in the Dharma, and the Dharma can best be described as the Word. In the reminding of ourselves and the remembering of ourselves through the teachings that are written from enlightened masters, from our favorite authors who inspire us to become more. You know, for myself, there's the likes of Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Meister Eckhart. The list goes on. The Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Bible, the Quran, the Talmud. They're all beautiful books, and they all have something to offer. We can take refuge from our false sense of views and instead allow ourselves to open and interact with another interpretation, to begin to put the joy back into the God that so many of us were told existed. But put the joy back into the idea of what it means to live in that creative sea of consciousness. Reinfuse it in those words which tend to separate. Allow the words that resonate with your being to sink deep within you. Pay attention, because when you read truth, it will ring your bell. That's the only way I can put it. It will literally ring your bell inside. There'll be this vibration like a little gong. And you go, wait a minute, I just read something profound. Back up. Read it again. Stop. Meditate. Allow the deeper meaning to sink into your being. Yeah, there's Kelly. Good one, honey. Now, please, no more hitting yourself in the head with that. And of course, we can also take refuge in the Sangha, or community. As we are here today, a community. And we are surrounded by community at all times. And we can take refuge in community in so many ways. One of the ways we can take refuge in community is to go out and volunteer in our community. And you would say, well, how could that be taking refuge? Well, anytime you act contrary to what the system would expect of you, which is, of course, you don't do work without being paid, you are taking refuge from the false views that we have put on this life. You are entering into the place where you stand beside Christ as a carpenter. Maybe you're painting, or maybe you're filing books, or maybe you're putting away clothes in a used clothing store, or singing songs for senior citizens. It doesn't matter. All of those enlightened beings are beside you, and they're all helping out too. Taking refuge in the community is a very microcosmic example of our willingness to trust all of creation. Taking refuge in community is the small view of taking refuge in that whole sea of consciousness. It's a recognition that you are always surrounded by like-minded beings who love you and care for you and want your growth and want your expansion more than anything else. And though time and space may separate us, apparently, we are all in the same room. All there for each other. Available for each other. We really are. In beginning to take this to the next level, this is an evolution of consciousness and an evolution of the group forward. I do wish to see more and more the focus shifting to the goal, to that jewel that we all wish to reach, and that is to live in a state of total awareness and harmony and oneness with all of creation. And the more time we spend, and the more we can deepen our meditation together, the more I think we can start bringing this about and affecting more and more change, simply by our being, simply by what we radiate on a daily basis. So I would like to see some communication back. The issue with the Sunday meditation, I think we're going to have to make it 9 a.m. in the morning. And the reason being is that I typically have lawns to do on the strata on Saturdays. And, 9 or 9:30, I'm going to make a final decision on that after I've spoken with my wife and our boy child, who's also a player in getting the lawns done. And we'll see what that comes to in the developing weeks here. But until then, Wednesday at 6 p.m., we will be doing another opening the door session. And I would invite you to invite others to come and take part of. I would really love to see a giant group of us meditating, spanning right across the globe, and making it a regular part of our engagement together. I do also believe in allowing others to ask for prayers, ask for, to be kept in our thoughts. And we'll be evolving that as well, really well. So if there are no more questions today, I don't think I will keep any of you any longer this fine Sunday afternoon. We're experiencing a light rain and a little bit of a cool day. And we're taking advantage of that and getting some things straightened up and tidied up and reevaluated and switched around. As always, much love to you all. We truly look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and we'll see what we can fit in between now and then. Take care. Have a wonderful day.